I was opportune to travel to Dubai with my family as far back as 2015. You can only imagine how fulfilled I was, man. It was like some big boy things. On the very first night we spent there, the entire family went on a night walk at Dara City Market. I was carefully observing my surroundings and enjoying every detail my eyes could feed on when suddenly a lady pushing her baby in a baby stroller right in front of me caught my attention. I remember her baby was sipping on something from his water bottle. Then he suddenly pulled the straw off the water bottle and flinged it, and it landed right in front of me. As per proper Yoruba boy, I decided to immediately help this baby, and I picked the straw and gave it back to the baby. His mom snapped at me aggressively, collected the straw from the baby and flinged it away. I was shocked. I couldn't understand her reaction towards my kind gesture. While we were having our stroll, I was puzzled all through about what happened and couldn't understand why she snapped at me. I remember I once did something similar back in Nigeria, where a woman's child threw his toy into a ditch. I jumped into the ditch to retrieve the child's toy, and she prayed for me and expressed so much gratitude. So, what's the case with this Dubai woman? I bet maybe she's a racist, I thought to myself. I related the situation with my older cousin the following day, and she said, she probably didn't want you to poison her baby with a straw that fell on a public ground. And just like that, it hit me. My cousin was right. That straw had fallen on the ground in a public space where she definitely believes it's contaminated. Yoruba boy like me, with all the exposure I thought I had, still went ahead to pick up the straw and give it to her baby to put it back in his mouth. Damn. I felt really embarrassed and disappointed in myself. Me where I think say for Kaduna, now maybe the bad man. On my first night abroad, I discovered how ignorant I was. I knew then and there that I had some workings to do on myself. So let's think about it. How many other Nigerians or Africans have really sat down within themselves and have come to the realization that they have a lot of self-development to do on themselves? Because apart from the fact that we always like to blame the colonizers and the Europeans and the oppressors about how they underdeveloped Africa and stole all the goods, let's not lie, we still have some common practices, some habits, some mentality that doesn't really sit well with us and is not going to make us a progressive race or a progressive people. And some of these acts are actually seen as being smart and wise, which is not an ideal mentality. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that if you brought 10 billionaires, keep them on the left-hand side, and bring 10 poor men, keep them on the right-hand side, and let us switch their financial status? Let us make all the poor men billionaires, and let us make all the billionaires poor. If we did this and were to come back in 20 years' time to check on those people, I can guarantee you that 75% of the poor men that you made billionaires would go back to being poor. And 8 out of the 10 billionaires you made poor would go back to at least being millionaires, even if they don't go back to billionaire status. I guess we all know how that became a possibility, right? The answer lies in their habits, their mindsets, and all of that. It's just like same thing with we Africans. I can guarantee you that if you gathered everybody in Europe today with the level of development that Europe enjoys today, and also gather everyone in Africa today, let us exchange our continent. Let everybody in Africa go to Europe, and let everybody in Europe come to Africa. And we are to check back in 20 years' time. Believe me, just like the case of the billionaires and the poor men, it is very, very, very similar and possible that you would come back in 20 years' time to find this Africa that we gave to the Europeans much more developed and advanced than everything we took over from them with the level of development they achieved before handing over to us. We that we are even known not to have good leadership in Africa. So whatever we inherit there, we might not even be able to maintain it. And they, with all of their innovation and everything, will come and take over our Africa and even develop it and, you know, probably supersede whatever they did before. Yes, I said it. It is all due to the difference in mentality, habits, and mindsets. I'm sorry to say, black people in general have a lot of work to do improving our mindsets. Because if you visit many African countries today, you will realize that 70% of the developed infrastructures that can be found in these countries were put in place by their colonial masters or foreign corporations operating in that country. And I am not pointing fingers to our bad government officials this time around. We as Africans need to look deep at ourselves and become the change we want to see. I am going to mention our biggest setback as a race, but before I do that, let me tell you a whole bunch of habits that has been normalized in our society. That is not a progressive act or habit or mindset or way of doing things generally, but we as a people, we have come to accept it so much, and in fact, it is even termed blessing or being street smart at some point. Number one, awoof. Awoof in every sector of life. If you're not Nigerian, you may not understand what awoof means, but this is just, I don't know how, I don't know I really don't know the appropriate English word for awoof. 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 Well, awoof. Let me just give you a simple illustration. Okay? Let's say like awoof in the power sector. Now, imagine a situation whereby a corrupt power official that works with PHCN goes around the whole neighborhood telling every homeowner that, see, make I help you program your meter where we say you no go ever credit your meter again and you go always dey get light. No worry, even if my superiors from office come look the meter, they no go know wetin I do for there. I promise you go always dey get light, but you must settle me. I can guarantee you that 99% of Nigerians will agree to this offer without thinking twice. Yes, that is what is called awoof. That's the meaning of awoof for those of you who are not Nigerians and don't understand. Yeah, it must be the Lord's doing, we will say. But then think about it. Now, how do you expect the power holding company to progress? How does the power holding company pay their staffs? Where does the profit for them to advance their system and everything they do for us to enjoy their efficiency and the power? Where does that fund come from if everybody just jumps on the offer of, you know what, I don't want to pay for light henceforth? Because if we are not all coming together to at least pay our rent on the power we consume, there's no way the power sector is ever going to progress. A whole lot of that thing happens to most of the power holding companies in Nigeria. They run into debt because you are spending your own money trying to generate power for Nigerians, but a lot of people are bypassing the power lines and trying to use free power. And at the end of the day, they notice that the income that is coming in is not enough to sustain. And we all complain. And they rather do what? They rather sell to other African countries or foreign countries and make direct profit from their government instead of having to deal with the mentality of Nigerians and all of that. When they start to lack money in the power sector because of insufficient funds, is when corruption and lack of passion for their job, which also leads to negligence, start to arise. So, if you know you are involved in some shady scheme that prevents you from paying for the power you consume, you have no right calling out the government. You are part of the reasons we don't have stable power in this country. Did some people who settle down in the middle of the night and go and steal wire from transformer, How do you have that kind of mindset, that kind of mind to do that kind of thing? In the middle of the night, people are sleeping, you go and steal wire from transformer, and you deprive more than 50 families from power for over a week or two, because you know how maybe the response from the government or from power to restore those wires. See, I've gone without light for 8 months because someone went to steal the cable. How can you deprive everybody just for your own self? That means you can do blood money. Honestly, anybody that can do that can do blood money. So those are just one of the things. Number 2 is littering. Yes, littering. Things as common as peeing on the road, throwing trash out of a moving car. All these Nigerian women will say they will be grinding pepper and they will pour the water from everything they are doing on the roadside, not even in the gutter, on the road. Dumping your refuse into the gutters when it rains. Like, where do you think all that is going to end up? You think the dirt is going to go to Pluto? Hell no. What goes around comes around. The way you are dumping it in your gutter, expecting to go and land somewhere, somebody too is dumping it in his gutter that's going to come and land in your place. Because what? All of us have adapted that instead of me to pay for waste disposal this week, you know what, let me just pour it into the gutters as the rains is falling, and you go and cause pollution elsewhere. What goes around comes around. We and only we can take full responsibility of our environment against pollution. Nobody from nowhere is going to come and clean it up. Nobody. Not even rain will wash it away. It takes every one of our little effort and contribution to maintain a healthy environment. Not some people trying and some being totally ignorant of all these little things. Many of us will be detained abroad if we should ever get relocated. Nothing won't tell me. I'm for real. Another negative thing we do is traffic disobedience. We only do the right thing when there's a law enforcement officer on the way, especially in Lagos. You have people that gallantly drive on the opposite lane, driving towards incoming cars, and you still be so entitled and you'll be signaling them to make way for you. Before you know it, everybody is following trend and there's either mad traffic for several hours or everything just comes to a complete standstill. Everybody wants to outsmart others, and it all ends up in complete chaos. Police disobedience as well. How are they to enforce the law if nobody listens to them and everyone challenges them or readily offering them a bribe as a form of abeg, just let me go? That's why we have mad policemen in our system today, because we've shown that being civil and gentle doesn't yield authority. Therefore, we don't recruit intellectuals into our police system. We don't recruit people that are reasonable, that can have a decent conversation with you. When, if they are even trying to talk to you, you are doing, you are being hard at it. So rather, they recruit all those crazy people that can actually bully their way into authority. That's the reason for all the numerous police brutality and crime record that we have continent-wide. Continent-wide, yes, continent-wide. We Africans, you can't use reasonable people and intellectuals to enforce authority upon us. They have to go and get serious bullies. Yeah. Another really solid point of a mindset we really don't like and we don't adapt to, which is bad for us, is tax evasion. Honestly, I personally hate the word tax, especially when it's coming from the government. But sometimes society or a community need to come together and make frequent contributions to achieve a particular project in our community. It might be a water supply storage and treatment project. It could even be for security. A small community might need to come together, hire or train some security guards, provide them with a uniform and basic weapons, and also continue to pay their wages for them to secure the entire community for the benefit of everyone. It has been a thing right from the progressive times of our ancestors that little contribution is made towards the achieving of little objective and goals and projects in the community. Yes, that little contribution they made back then is modern day tax. Because even till date, people come together to buy houses in an estate. and readily pay a contribution known as service charge to keep all the facilities and amenities in the estate running optimally. Now I know we also say our government squanders all tax generated income in their possession, but a lot of us don't even have the mentality, and we are not even ready to develop the habit of paying tax, even if we promise and it is actually proven that it will be used for good. Because ideally, here in Africa, we ought to form a community government where everybody gathers in a town hall to discuss their problems and also discuss solutions. This way, you are surrounded by faces you know and probably people you grew up with. You are appointing familiar and well known faces to handle the different offices in the communal government, like chairman, treasurer, secretary, project manager, and so on and so forth. I think I'm going to create a whole different topic on community government. I don't know if that's communism though. I'll find out. So, the list of non-progressive habits, mindset, and mentality that holds us back as a people is quite extensive, because I can keep going on and on about those things that really, like I said, it's not everything that is the government is bad. We as a people, there are things that we have adapted to. There are modes of operations that we seem to hold on to. Mentality that is so common among all of us that is not a progressive habit. It is not a progressive mindset. It's not a progressive mentality. Now, back to talking about our biggest setback as a race. This is something that is not synonymous to Nigerians alone or Africans alone. It is skin deep in the nature and the DNA of all black men worldwide. And this time around, it is not religion. Yes, it is not religion. So, what is that thing that fuels our utmost desire? That thing that pushes our willpower, our passion, and majority of our intentions. The major reason we do what we do. There's a reason Negroes are the way they are, and there's a reason Caucasians are the way they are. Some habitual characteristics are being passed down from generation to generation. Some are of advantage to us, some are a disadvantage. Our biggest setback as a race, and is not religion. What could it be? Find out on my very next episode. Thank you very much.